Oh, I'm muted. All right, back again. This is the big one. This is the one that I don't know. I'm not super excited for, but I am because it is a derby game. Welcome, Nat. Welcome, Alexi.
Yeah.
Anybody watching the channel, like and subscribe. You know the deal. Gonna hop right into it. It's a bad time for this game, isn't it, guys? It's a bad time. This isn't like a. Normally, you'd want this to happen after a good run of form or being in a different position than we are currently.
But for me though, form is a derby. Form means nothing. Well, it should mean nothing. You should be up for it no matter what. You should be up for it. I mean, they'll be up for it because they're in good form. But we should be up for it because it's a derby, and they should know what it means. Know what it means for this club. What it means for us fans. I mean, we can't be there to cheer them on, but that they've had good games at the Etihad when there was fans. So they should use that to help them, know what it's up to, and this is as well a game to put it all right. So all the draws that have gone before, you can sort of brush them under the carpet by doing something well here today. So, I mean, tomorrow. So,
That's actually a really good point. I like that term, make things right, because you get 3 points from this game and 2 of those draws don't matter. Because nobody would expect us to win this game, right? Like, on the calendar, when you check off the wins and the losses and the draws or whatnot, the City games, you hope for a draw. It's like you hope for a draw. If you get the win, you're happy, but you're expecting a loss, especially at this juncture. Earlier on in the season, when they weren't in form, it wouldn't have been as surprising. But now it would be a good surprise if we could win this game. And I agree, form kind of goes out the window for a derby. I don't know, Lexi, what are your thoughts on us form versus it being a derby versus Nat brought up a good point. I mean, there aren't any fans to really spur the team on. Like, I know even having opposing teams fans helps in the sense where, like, Pogba was putting his hand up to his ear, taunting the fans, letting them have it. So what do you think, Alexi? Form doesn't matter tomorrow?
Yeah, I think it's over the years, it's kind of shown in these kind of games that form is just, it's non-existent. Like, we've seen it. I remember when we were really good, like, they used to beat us a couple of times and stuff even then. And I think it's like we can kind of, if you look at it logically, you'd say they'll probably win, but we know derbies just aren't like that. Like, last season, we were on a terrible run of form. I think we just drawn 3-3 with Sheffield United or something. And then we just turned up to the Etihad and literally put in probably the best performance I've seen for like 6-7 years. It was like a stunningly good performance. So, and I think this team has always been built on bouncing back in these kind of games. Because if you follow like back to the start of Ole's time in the job, there's a trend of we mess up a couple of games and everyone gets quite upset. And then we have a game like this where we're not expected to win or get anything, and then we put in a really great performance. Obviously, maybe that trend won't go on forever, but I probably shouldn't be as confident as I am. I feel more confident about this than I was about Palace, honestly. I've just got this weird feeling, not based on any real kind of evidence or proper things of what's been going on. I just really think we're probably going to win because we do tend to turn up at the Etihad. We've won our last 2 games there. Like, even when they have been really good. And even like when Jose Mourinho was at his second season, we were 2 down. And I don't know what he said at half time, but it worked. We went out there and won 3-2 and stopped them winning the league. There's always a possibility to win a derby. And yeah, I think tomorrow is a great opportunity to, like you guys were saying, right the wrongs of the draws.
Yeah, I hear you. There's one key component, though, that was, I think, a big reason why we won the last 2 games. He's not there, and that's Paul Pogba. So that is something that kind of scares me going into this game. Is I would agree that we always have the ability, especially Ollie's a great escaper in the sense, like, obviously his job's not at any risk at this stage. It's really not. But every time he's been in one of these, I don't know, people call it crisis or whatever you want to call it. It's funny being in a crisis but sitting in second. But it's just people, like, we're in crisis. Like, even I got a little upset after the last game. All these teams always seem to get out of it at these moments. So I'm hoping tomorrow is one of those moments where somebody steps up, he does something different. The lineup might be a bit different. It seems like Bike could be fit, which is nice. But I don't think he'll play because Lindelof is already talking about making sure they expect anything. So I think that will be his game. But I would be interesting to see what we throw at them. Does he change his formation? Does he maybe bring in somebody from the cold like a Donny Van de Beek or a Juan Mata or somebody just to change the flow of how we've been playing, get some fresh legs in there, get people comfortable. I think the only way we win the game tomorrow is if we score first. That's my opinion. Just so like you, Alexi, I was talking to you before the stream started. I actually bet on United to win. Whether it is a good idea or not, the odds were too good. And I agree with you. It is. This is one of those games where you look at it and everybody's expecting one thing and then something else happens. Nat, without Pogba, what do you think we need to do? Do you like formation wise? Do you think we need to change it up? Do you want to see us bring in Van de Beek? Like, what do you think? I know the players need to be up for it, but what do you think Ollie might need to do without Paul Pogba? Because he's kind of the secret weapon in this game.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Like, he's been the one, and I think it would be nice to see a Donny or, like you said, Mata. I know I said a while ago, why haven't we seen a bit of Mata? For me, I understand why, but like you say, he's the kind of guy who can create things, do a bit of magic. I think like that's what we've been lacking. If you look at back at that Palace game, there was no creativity at all, and potentially someone like him playing in there might have created a goal, created an assist, and I just think, yeah, Donny. I think definitely Dan James for me. I think he's in a bit of form. He might not be sort of everyone's cup of tea, but I think running at them, pace in behind them. I know that's how we've got a lot of our goals from City is sort of, Rashford running at them, Martial running at them. Unfortunately, he's not on form. But, it might be time for Martial to step up. It might be like, Daniel James, Rashford and Martial up front, something like that. That's fast. That's frightening in a way. That's what he might do. I'm not great at formation, so yeah, that's just what I think he should do. Pace in behind.
Have you seen the reports recently? And they kind of scare me that Rashford has a significant shoulder injury that he could potentially need surgery for after the Euros. He's obviously not going to do it before the Euros because he needs to play in the Euros. Alexi, have you seen that? Does that worry you? Are we back in one of those phases of we've seen it with Marcus Rashford where I love the kid, but he's a warrior and he gets overplayed because of that. Are we worried about that happening again?
Yeah, so last season, exactly the same thing happened. I remember we played him every week because, to be fair, we had no squad, and we brought him on in, I think it was a third round replay against Wolves, and he did his back in and he was done for a couple of months. And it's always dangerous with these kind of surgery type situations because it's inevitable he's going to have the surgery. It's just, when does he do it? There's no good time to do it. And obviously, if it wasn't for the Euros, he could have had it, in the summer, but there's not going to be any gap. And I think, it's the fact he's performed this well, like before, he performs really well with quite bad injuries. Like, imagine if he didn't have the injuries, but yeah, I think it is really worrying. And he's going to have the surgery. And realistically, the really sad thing is it's going to mean he's probably going to miss the start of the next season, I reckon.
And the sad part about that, I always look at the kind of the good and the bad. The sad part is obviously not having him for probably a significant portion of the next start of the season, but that has to put some pressure on the Glazers to just, you have to go out and buy now. Like, we can't start a season. We've done this multiple times now where if we had Cavani in from the start of the season, we probably would have had a better start to the season, but we brought him in too late. If we had Bruno at the start of the season before, we would have finished well above the 66 points we finished, and we might have actually been in the conversation based on form when Bruno came in, right? We didn't lose a single game. So hopefully the Glazers' hands being forced mean you have to go in and get a winger, and you have to get a winger of Rashford's quality. You can't just go get anybody and be like, all right, just hold down the fort for a little bit until Rashi gets back. It's got to be a winger of Rashford's quality, and everybody knows who I want, and there's only one person in my opinion. So I do hope the injury is not too serious in the sense, I mean, I've had bad shoulder injuries and I know what it's like to have to get surgery, and you can recover within about a month or two. But because of the Euros and because of how intense that's going to be, I think we'll have to take our time with him. Back to kind of how we should play. Alexi, do you agree with Nat that we should be trying to get him behind? I'm under the world that I think we have to play counterattack against them. A friend of the Terrace who's a big City fan, Yannicka, literally said the words, "It doesn't matter how anybody plays against them anymore." What do you think about that? Do you think style of play tomorrow is going to be important? What kind of tactics would you want Ollie to play? What's up, boss? Can you hear
me? Yeah, sorry, it's briefly cut out. Yeah, I think we have got to go with pace in behind, because that's what's worked before against them. Last season, we beat them with James against them at home, I believe, and then away. I think he played away as well, actually, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. He played both games.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is the perfect game for our counter-attacking philosophy, which is what we're really good at. So it makes complete sense to go with pace. And that's why I think you probably really have to go James, Rashford and Greenwood, really, because those three on the counter-attack, getting in behind the City defence is frightening, because they will play a very high line and there will be that space in behind. And the thing is with Dan James now, he was very useful in these games when he didn't really have much of an end product even. Like, he was just good because he just ran a lot. But now he's got an end product. Like, he could be really, really key in this, just getting behind. Because even the game at Old Trafford, when we won 2-0, like, I remember McTominay's goal, just seeing Dan James kind of just, all he did was just sprint towards Ederson, but it just made Ederson throw the ball quicker. And then Ederson panics, and then McTominay scores. And it's small things like that, like his pressing and stuff. It's really important, I think. So, yeah, I think he's got to go with pace.
Okay. So both of you brought something up that I was listening to carefully and thinking to myself. They're making good points about the City team that we ran in behind last year. Two key differences this year is the defense, for sure, in my opinion. And Ederson's a lot better this year than he was last year. Like, Diaz has kind of come in and transformed that defense. And if they do start Stones beside him, that's a different back four and Cancelo, that's a completely different back four than we've seen in the last 2 years. Do you, Nat, have any worries about the kind of new and improved City defense being able to, obviously Pep plays one style, but there's no more Otamendi, who just has zero pace and had no really awareness of where he needed to be on the pitch. There isn't, as much as Kyle Walker is fast, he's not the player that Cancelo is at this stage. So does that worry you at all, that now that the City defense might be more astute, or you still think we have a good chance going up against them, getting behind?
I mean, I still think we have a good chance because, like you say, he plays one style of play. I think, way that we have played before against them, I think that's our best sort of style of play in a way, counter-attacking. So I think that's where we're going to see our best football. But I think, like you say, I remember the game that we've already played against them in the Carling Cup, whatever League Cup. I mean, everything that we threw at them, they just had an answer for, and that sort of was the frustration of that game. That was when we were sort of at our top points, when we were flying high, when we were top of the league, and we came against them in even more confidence than this, even better form. Like I say, the form doesn't matter, but and it was worrying that potentially that was when we were on fire, scoring loads of goals, best form that we've had, and the defence just shut it out, no way through. So it is worrying, but I just think that counter-attack is our best style, it is our best way, I think, in my opinion, of us winning. That's when we see our best football throughout the whole Ollie tenure. That's when we've played our best. Now we're thinking back to when we played Newcastle away. I mean, some of that football was just 1-2 link up. And I know Newcastle and City are different, but when we do play that on the break, we look really good and dangerous. So that's why I just keep it at that. But I don't know. Ollie might change it. He might this might be the time. I've saying before on other podcasts, like this might be the time. This is where he's going to earn all his money, and this will make us forget about it. So it's for him to step up and show himself as a really good coach.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. With that, I kind of want to get into obviously who we're picking. I from the sounds of it, I already know who you guys are picking at your front three. I don't know if Martial's back. If Martial's back, I actually do think he'll make the squad. Personally, I do think he'll make the squad if he's back. Just for some weird reason, it seems like the way Ollie tried to explain him being dropped didn't seem like he was dropping him because anything personal, more because he had a knock. I would actually pick Martial on my team. I wouldn't pick Dan James off the bat because I think it's funny. I agree with you guys, and I think he's going to play, and I think he'll play a big role, but I don't think he'll play until later. And I think we'll start with Greenwood, Martial, and Cavani, and then pull Cavani off and switch to James and put Martial up top. That's what I'm thinking, because I just think he's going to do something different. I just think he's going to do something that people don't really expect. And Dan James is something that I think a lot of people will expect. So I think that's probably the front three I would pick. I like Alexi, correct me if I'm wrong. You said Greenwood, James, and Rashford.
Yeah.
And Nat, who did you have up top?
I had Martial, Rashford, and James, I think.
Yeah. So I don't disagree with James coming in, but I think he's going to go with the Rashford, Martial, and Cavani. I think it's going to be he's going to put Rashford on the right again. That's just what I think he's going to do. In the midfield, it's where it gets a bit interesting because the midfield's been all over the place. Who would you pick in your midfield right now, Nat? Who do you think he's going to be picking?
I think Scott McTominay will play. He has all right games against City. I don't know, because then I just think Scott and Fred and Bruno, but then at the same time I do want to mix it up, and I did say Donny, so I'm like maybe Fred, Donny, and Bruno. I'm not the most tactical person, and if he does mix it up, he's there to earn the money. He knows more than me, but maybe something like that, one of those three. Maybe he'll go like a diamond. I don't know. Really mix it up. Really throw some spanners in the work. But I think what we said before about Donny, I can definitely see him getting a game. So maybe like Fred, Donny, and Bruno. But then that might be too attacking. I don't know. Because I think Bruno definitely needs to play. But then how do you get Donny in as well?
That's a good question. Alexi, who would you pick in your midfield?
I hate to say it, but I'm going for McTominay, Fred, and Bruno. I just kind of think like he's in a game like this against the hardest team we've probably played all season. I just can't see him steering away from quite a cautious approach. And also, obviously, it's the thing as well, like McTominay and Fred did well against City last season. And I know we can't completely keep living off the games last season because we haven't been as good this season against the top six. But I'm not really sure who else he could play in the midfield against this City team, because I think Fred is really important in this, in like breaking up the play and stuff. And like, even though I get McTominay isn't like the most attacking player, I still think playing McTominay is a lot more attacking than playing like a Matic or something, because McTominay does contribute a fair bit in terms of like goals and assists or something. He's quite good going forward. And yeah, I think it will be those three. And I think the only way it wouldn't be those three is if he went for a back three or something, which would be interesting. I mean, I don't think that would be the worst idea, but the reason I can't see him doing it is because he played Eric Bailly on Wednesday against Palace, and basically Eric Bailly never starts 2 games in a row. And you could put Shaw at left centre back, but then we can't really lose his threat at left wing back. So yeah, I think it will be those three, because we're just going to have to be as solid as possible in midfield.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I think will happen. What I want to see is Donny come in for Scott. I think Fred has to play, as much as like I'm kind of over Fred. if I'm to be honest. I'd rather a different, like if the reason we're playing Fred is exactly what you said, right? Is to break up play, to be a pass. Like I'd rather a different player in that doing that at this stage, just with more like I'd rather see Fred every now and then versus as much as we're seeing him at this stage. But I do think it'll be those three, even though I think Scott came in on the one game. He didn't actually start like that. The one game where he scored the goal, he came in late and he scored that goal. So he didn't actually start that game. But I think because we don't have Pogba, he'll probably start just for a familiar face, having that you want to have that structure. I would love to see him start Donny, Fred, and Bruno. You don't really need big, strong guys against City. They don't play a style that you have to worry about that. You don't like Rodri's going to be their enforcer in a sense, and the rest is just a bunch of ball players. Like they're just ballers in the midfield. So I think having a Donny play would actually help with movement in space. That's what I would actually say, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, Scott and McTominay are probably. I mean, Fred and McTominay are probably going to start. But I want to see Donny play. I really do. And I've been hard on Donny, saying I don't think he fits the system. I don't think he's done enough to earn his place. But I do think in a game like this, that Newcastle game is very interesting. When you brought up that one game where we had a really nice patch of the play, a really nice pattern of play, that Donny was part of that, and so was Mata. So at some point, it would be interesting if we do see Mata come into the game. I don't know how, because I always think about like who would come off. We'd have to go extremely attacking, and I think that would be okay. I would be cool. Like if we lose, like tomorrow, loss is a loss. It doesn't matter how we lose. Like if we get panned 4-0 or whatever, it would just be interesting to see us go for it. In the back four, like you said, because Bailly started on Wednesday, he won't start. There's no logic around thinking he will. If he does, then cool. That's all. He definitely changed it up. But because he started, he won't. I think, in my opinion, it'll be Lindelof, Maguire, Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka. But we will see Dino back in net. And everybody's talking about he saved a point against Palace, but I think the guy was offside, to be honest. I don't think it would have stood. But how do you guys feel about Dino now coming in? Now I know we were talking about it before, and I think now we're actually going to see him get a significant run of games, because I feel like Ollie has absolutely no issues being like, yo, David, I've got Dino. So if you want to spend more time in Spain with your kid, go ahead. Like, that's fine. So I actually think we'll see Dino for most of the games coming up. How do you feel about him starting that? And do you think he'll have a part to play in us potentially upsetting City tomorrow?
Yeah, well, they said, I think I heard 6 games or something, and I think that's before the child was born, but obviously now the child's born. I don't think, there's going to be any rushing back. I think it's Dino's time now, isn't it, to really say, bang, this is my jersey, the number one's mine. Like you said, he sort of kept us in it against Palace, but I think it's his time not only to show us, Man United, Ollie, why he should be the number one, but also for England. I heard a lot of people saying, it's the Euros. I'm not saying he's going to be thinking about England, but this is his time to shine, to prove that he's like the number one for club and country. And what a game to do it versus City. I think we've played City a lot, where David has saved us a lot, kept us in games. So if he can, make some wonder saves, keep us in it, or keep it down, pull out some man of the match performances like we have seen from David, then for me he'll definitely cement that number one spot for England and Man United for the future for me.
Alexi, how do you feel about
Dino definitely. I think it's a big thing for him coming into the team now, like Natalie said, because the Euros are coming up, and like Pickford, it just isn't. He isn't good, is he? Like, if we're being honest, he's not great. Like, so Pickford's not very good, and then Pope's decent, but I think Henderson, if he plays, he has to start the Euros, and that's going to be massive for him. But also in relation to his United career, because he's never really, since he's been here this season, he's never really started consecutive Premier League games. It's just been kind of the odd game or something, rather than a continuous run. But I think it's kind of forced him being in the team because of everything with De Gea. But I think Henderson's really good in this type of game, because if we want to do quick counterattacks and stuff, I think his distribution's a lot better than David De Gea's. And if, let's say, they have a corner or a set piece, he quickly picks it up and looks for James and finds him upfield. that's a chance, because that's how City and Liverpool create so many of their chances. You see Alisson or Edison just launching a ball out wide to a Sterling or a Salah or something, and you've created a chance like that. And we haven't been doing that very well at all recently, because, well, we haven't been creating much in general, really, but it's just too slow building out from the back sometimes, or, the goalkeeper might just boot it out, or, there's not enough structure from the back. And I think having Henderson in, I mean, he's also a lot better, obviously, claiming high balls and everything, but just for his passing ability, it could add something to our attacking game that we've missed with De Gea. And it's ironic, because I think while De Gea is a brilliant goalkeeper, I think his style of goalkeeping, he's very much primarily a shot stopper. He's kind of almost like you could argue maybe a bit of a not old-fashioned goalkeeper. That's harsh to say, but he's not good with his feet, right? And the way Ollie wants to play is through, quick plays out from the back and everything. Henderson's perfect for that, I think.
I agree with you, and I'm just looking this up now, and it's interesting how the history's kind of shifting, because we've won 76 of the 184 games, with City winning 55, most of those coming in the recent times. And when you're just going back to the whole idea of playing from the back, and I do think, I'm not going to lie, I'm just going to say, I do think Dino's distribution's a bit overrated, just because David De Gea is so bad. It's kind of like the Kepa-Edu duality there, where it was like Edu came in and everybody was like, this guy's so good, but it was mainly just because Kepa's so bad. So I think, like, when we see Dino actually able to pass with his feet, it's nice, because David De Gea doesn't do it at all. And that's an interesting dynamic, if that is something that Ollie kind of puts into the game, because if he starts Dan James and then he is that, we'll see that'll be something. If that's part of the game plan, it'll be there for everybody to see. It won't be this is no freestyle football or anything. If that's how they play tomorrow, it'll be definitely planned. If Dan James plays, I think that'll be part of the game plan if he starts the game. So score predictions, as I'm talking about, United having won the majority of this tie. How do you feel tomorrow? I know, Alexi, you said you feel like we're going to win. What's your score prediction? Because clearly, I once again got this terribly wrong last week on.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think I was the closest I've ever been the other day, because I said 1-0 and it was 0-0. So, progress. No, I think, I do think we're going to win. It's a bit crazy, isn't it? But I just have a feeling we're going to win. And I think I'll go 2-1. I think we're going to go 2-0 up. And then it will go a bit like the game last year, where they'll get a goal kind of 70, 80 minutes. And then we'll be kind of hanging on a bit. But I feel really... It worries me how confident I feel, because every time I feel confident recently, it's not been proved right at all. But I think eventually we're going to we've not had like kind of a really significant league win for a bit of time, and these draws have been a bit miserable and everything. And I think this game is the opportunity, and I think they're going to be so up for it. And if we approach this well, we can keep our away run going and we can end their winning streak. It's just a perfect storm, isn't it? So yeah, I'll go 2-1.
Natalie?
I was going to go 2-1, but I can see them potentially scoring more than... I'm going to go 2-2 draw. I mean, I know that we want to win, and I know I said a win, but for me, if we came out with a draw, getting goals again, like you said, everyone's expecting us to lose. It wouldn't maybe get rid of it all the bad feeling, but it would get rid of some, and it would help us feel, I think, sort of maybe getting back on track, back to not winning ways, but back to normal ways. So I'm doing 2-2.
I think 1-0. We're going to score in the first 25 minutes, and we're going to hold on for dear life after that. Oh, and I mean, white knuckling. We're just going to be sitting there. It's going to be because a lot of the times that we beat City, they've been atrocious in front of net. And they do have that in them. They do, like, Sterling has that in him. Jesus, if he plays, has that in him. Like Silva, all those guys have a bad game in them, and they always seem to have it against United, and that's what I'm expecting tomorrow. We're going to score early, and we're going to hold on, and everybody, every pundit, everybody in the world is going to say, oh, they got played off the park, we got lucky, and none of us are going to care. That's exactly what I'm expecting tomorrow. An early goal, a defensive masterclass, because let's be honest, our defense has been good. Like we've been keeping these clean sheets, and we just haven't been scoring. So that's the way I see it going down tomorrow. I hope it goes down that way because then I'll win some money and I'll be happy. But yeah, with that, I'm going to end the stream here, guys. I appreciate you coming on. Honestly, I'm looking forward to it because it's the derby, but I'm also kind of just stressed out, being like, you know what, this could be, if we lose this game bad, this could also put us in a position where now we have to look out for Chelsea. We have to look out for potentially, well, Everton and Chelsea will nullify themselves tomorrow, so they won't have to really, and then West Ham will have to actually think about, which I don't want to. I didn't really get into that today, but that's because I want to wait until we see what happens this week before I start talking about top four again in the positions. Because I'm hoping after tomorrow, if we do win, we're good. Like I'm very comfortable. If we don't win tomorrow, all of a sudden the conversation shifts a bit. And I'm sure Ahmed will cover a lot of that because he's been talking about top four the whole time. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming on. If you're watching back, like, subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.